not? Oh, well. The time being 6 o'clock, I will call the budget meeting for the school public hearing to order. Ms. Mariotti, would you like to explain anything on the school budget?
Thank you. I hope everybody has a copy. If not, I can get some additional copies up here. So the school district budget, if you turn to the first page, there's a budget overview, which I think gives a sense of the adjustments that we've made throughout the budget. We are proposing a budget that is 4.86% over last year's, or an increase of $208,978. We have, recognizing, the need to manage costs, we have brought forward a budget that does reduce a classroom teacher, a special education paraeducator, and one full-time custodian. We believe that with our current enrollment projections, we're going to be able to absorb the teacher reduction. The special education paraeducator position was not filled this year. And the present staffing is meeting our current needs. What I do need to make sure people understand, our needs are forever changing. We definitely, and you'll see reflected in other parts of the budget, special education costs have gone up. We've needed to bring in more specialized assistance, which is more costly. And in just some brief conversations today, some student needs are evolving as we have some new enrollments, and so it's an area that is forever changing and seems to be becoming more costly, and I think that's something people need to be aware of. We also this year have had to draw on our special education trust funds. We have not had to do that over many years, but we are now finding ourselves, rather than being in a phase of building those funds, we're in a phase of having to draw on those funds. So it's something for everybody within the community to keep in mind. The reductions in staff amount to $165,702. We did find this year that health insurance costs are projected to be at 15.7%. That is more than double what was brought forward last year as a guaranteed maximum rate. This is certainly having a significant impact on the budget. That and subscription changes has us close to $38,000 increase in insurance. Curriculum and development, last year it was supported, phase one last year of a two-phase process to implement new literacy materials. We are now coming into the second phase of that, which will be a $32,000 commitment that the district has to follow through on. Special education and speech, as I said, you will see that this has gone up again because we need more specialized help. Our other professional services has increased by almost $59,000. That is primarily due to needing to contract a behavior consultant and a registered behavior technician for special education needs. This is through a contracted service. They have a high degree of skill working with significant special education needs. Additionally, we have budgeted $16,600 to fund a court placement. That is not the full funding. Our intention, if this continues, it is something that does evolve when somebody is court placed. And as a result, we are planning, if we need to continue that for an entire year next year, that we would need to access the Special Education Expendable Trust again. But again, trying to be mindful of the budget that's brought forward for the taxpayers. That decision was made to take that risk, so to speak, into the next year. In addition, we will have a change in speech professional services, and we anticipate that being just over a $9,300 increase. In the past, Ashland has purchased time from Interlakes. Interlakes needs in special education are increasing, and that does not appear like that will be an option, and as a result, a private contractor will most likely need to be contracted with, which we anticipate being more costly. Special education and speech is almost $85,000 of the increase in the budget. In addition, utilities and fuel, we've actually had a decrease. When we looked at our 8-year average for gallons used in oil, it's gone down. We've had a slight increase of $1,000 in electricity. We do know that our new ventilation system, which is something I think Ashland should be very proud of, that was funded through ESSER funds as well as local funds. The building previously had no mechanical ventilation, and now this is a building that throws in fresh air and exchanges the inside air. So that is quite an accomplishment, but we will be monitoring what that new system does to our electric bill, but we need a year's time to do that. But so utilities and fuel have decreased, which is a positive. Salaries, at the start of the school year, the school board did make a decision to provide a 2-hour per dollar raise for non-bargaining staff who are hourly employees. This was in addition to the 5% raise pool that had been distributed as part of the budget. The way that was funded is there was a special education paraeducator that was not hired, and those funds that had been set aside for that position were used to support the $2 per hour increase for our hourly staff. The reason that that was done is we are in a point in time in education that it has been very hard to fill positions. That change allowed us to retain paraeducators and support staff, as well as it allowed us to recruit. We were very fortunate. We started the year off being fully staffed. We are in a little transition right now. We are trying to hire an open position as well as a potential Title I position. But we really found ourselves in a much more stable position for retaining and hiring at the beginning of the year because of that change. That pool, well, the distributed salary pool from last year, the 2-hour adjustment for hourly staff, and staff changes represent close to $80,000 increase in the proposed budget. Salaries, so again, being able to maintain providing people raises for next year for our non-bargaining staff, so these are non-union staff. An additional 5% pool is proposed, which is just over $37,500, which is an increase of just over $1,300 from last year. Our food service program, in the past, we have subsidized the school lunch program. What we have found is the cost of goods have gone up, and the need for a larger subsidy is required in order for us to maintain the food service program in the black. We're not legally allowed to have it run in the red. So the board has supported funding an additional $10,000 increase to support the school lunch program, which is based on our anticipated costs. We are not proposing any capital improvement projects other than really general maintenance, maintaining our buildings, but not doing any improvements. The next page, page 3, you have a pie graph. What you'll notice, the majority of our budget is people. We are in the people business, and it takes people to do the people work that we do. Salaries and benefits is just over 71%. Contracted services, which also represents people, is just over 15.5%. If you turn to the next page, page 4, is an additional comparison of costs. And it does do a nice job of trying to indicate where the increases are and decreases in the budget. Salaries and benefits have increased just over 3%. Contracted services, this is where you are seeing the increased needs we have for students with special needs, is up over 16.5%. Books, supplies, and equipment is up 3.78%. Utilities, as I said, was down just 3.59%. And the $10,000 increase to the food service program has increased those other expenses by 3.7%. Overall, the budget is up 4.86%. The next page, page 5, gives you some revenue information. This is an estimate. It's always important to recognize that this is an estimate. We are estimating a general fund balance of $5,000. That is much lower than we have typically done. Again, we are finding our costs are more expensive this year based on unanticipated special education needs, which we are utilizing funds from the expendable trust, but in addition, it is absorbing funds within the fund balance. You can see at the bottom that the assessment increase from last year to this year is just over $334,000, or just over 10%, and that has an impact of close to 76 cents for taxes. If you look on page 6, you can see that for an estimate, if a house is assessed at $100,000, taxes would increase by $75.61 per year. The gold pages, which start on page 7, are breakdown by the various areas of our budget. I won't go
We're
through
going to be
each
going
section.
through those.
What was that?
We will be going through those.
You will, okay, so I will refrain from going line by line for you. If you turn to page 16, there are draft warrant articles. You'll see the positions that are open in the school district. In addition, the salaries for district officers. The Article 3 is the operating budget warrant article, which is $4,505,844. The default budget is $4,462,548. Page 17 shows you how that was calculated. So again, the default budget is $4,462,548. Page 18 is an important page that I'd like to make sure is publicly shared with everybody. Page 18 is noticing the public of contracts and leases. This allows us for those to be included in the default budget moving forward. We have leases for technology. We have the curriculum, second payment for the curriculum materials. We have waste management contract. We have a plowing contract, fuel oil, school bus transportation, and capital improvement plan, which much of it has been deferred, which I will share in a moment. If you turn to page 24, I apologize, page 25. Page 25, you will see on the bottom that $102,680 has been deferred relative to capital improvements. And again, that is to try to provide a as conservative of a budget as we can.
And by deferring those, you're not anticipating any additional costs that will be in the coming years that will need emergency funds?
They are projects that we feel we can defer at this time. I can't predict emergencies, but we do have an expendable trust for facilities should something arise. Okay. Are there any questions for me?
Thank you, that was very detailed. Mr. Chairman, do you have anything any of you would like to add? Does anyone from the public have anything that they would like to add or discuss? Okay, having said that, from the board, shall we vote on them line, on using the orange, yellow page?
I think it would be more appropriate to vote the bottom line.
You just want to go with the bottom line, that's fine
Unless
too.
somebody has something they want to change.
No, I agree. Bottom line.
Nobody-
Okay. So having said that, I will move to which would actually be, right, the bottom line there, or we can go straight to Article 3. Article 3 on page 16. Do I have a motion on Article 3, page 16?
Motion.
David
I'll
motions.
second that motion.
Sandra seconds the motion. The motion is to approve the school budget for $4,505,844. And the default budget of $4,462,548. Correct? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
What was the vote?
Motion passes 5-0.
5-0, okay. We should do Article
Yep.
2 again.
So, Article 2, shall the school district set the salaries and district officers for the coming year? Moderator, $50. District clerk, $12. School board chairman, $500. School board members, 4 each at $400. And district treasurer at $800. Do I have a motion on that article?
So moved.
David Rule has moved it. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Sandra seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Already.
Sorry. Anyone have anything else that can come before the public hearing on the school board, on the school budget? Having said so, I will close the public hearing on the school board budget at
6:15.
6:15. Thank you. And for the public, I will note that we have been going over this budget since July. So, thank you. You're welcome to stay and join us.
I'm going over there for a minute.
Okay. I am going to call the meeting to order, though, just so you know. You're not going to be very long.
No, they're just,
What time do you got now?
Did you adjourn before I got 6:16.
So at 6:16, I will call the public hearing on the town budget to order. Sandra is here in the room. She's just over there. She will be back. Mr. Town Manager
Mr. Chairman,
and Chairman, do you have anything that you would like to say?
I just want to impress on everybody that our goal for the coming fiscal year with the appropriations and the revenues and all the other good things the Department of Revenue requires and the town is obligated to approve, our goal is to keep the municipal portion of the tax rate level. Our goal is not to make that go up per thousand. We've been successful at that for 2 years now, and even with the revaluation, we had to call in a certified public accountant and the person who does our financial records and approvals for the Department of Revenue, and we committed $300,000 to keep it flat because of the reval. And that sort of changed all the figures in town, so people's taxes should be relatively the same, except for the fact that their property values have changed. So we had to take that into consideration. Our goal is to do exactly the same thing next year. Of course, we won't be doing a reval for another 5 years, but we want to keep the tax rate as flat as possible, and that's our goal. Hopefully, we can attain that goal.
Okay. And the changes in this budget are, you want me to do it, or do you want to?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Not at this time.
Okay. Changes in this budget are mainly 3 things. Salary increases, which are due to the contract. An increase in the fire department wages above due to retaining personnel. And a change in the ambulance, it's in the contract line, to assist the ambulance with needs it will have since they will start transporting on July 1st. We have a change in the elections and registration, which is $13,000 increase due to we have more elections this year. It's one of those things that goes up, it goes down, goes back up. This is an up year. Finance, we are down in by $9,969. Property evaluation, we are down $34,000 because of the evaluation which Fred just spoke about. Legal is level funded. Personnel administration has a net change of $44,853. This is mostly due to a change in the insurance, which the maximum guaranteed rate is higher. It's actually double from what it was last year, same thing the school had. Land use is up $1,000. They need to buy a new computer. Their old one just simply doesn't work. General government buildings, net change is $250, and that's due to an increased rate in propane. Cemeteries are the same. Insurance is up $20,994. Again, this is a workers' comp thing, and it's one that they calculate we have nothing to do with. Economic development has no change. The police department is up $75,398. This is due to salary changes, changes in personnel, and the big one is a piece of equipment, which is an ID maker that the police department needs to buy, and that will make IDs for the entire town. Ambulance contract is actually up $40,358. And that's because $76,000 was added to provide money for the ambulance. But that's the change from last year to this year is net change of $40,358. Fire department is up $74,522. This is due to a change in what they're paying them to be competitive with other departments, other fire departments and ambulance departments around the area. Building inspector is actually down $921. Again, that's a change in his hourly rate and Medicaid and Medicare. Emergency management is level funded. Public Works is up $51,023. Again, this is a change in personnel. We went from a foreman to an assistant director and changes in the salary which was previously voted. Streets and Highway is up $5,751. This is equipment maintenance and vehicle maintenance increased due to increased costs for parts. The town mechanic is up $39,725. This is due to a hiring of a part-time employee to help them in the town mechanic, and to keep the salary in accordance with the CBA and related expenses for salaries. Transfer station is up $22,438. This is union salaries. Health officer, there is no change. Animal control is up $33. That is due to the contract with the New Hampshire Humane Society. General assistance, there's a change of $3,460. This request was increased by the General Assistance Director due to increases in work hours that he is now spending, so his salary again. Parks and Rec is up $6,558. This is due to changes with personnel that they have in that department. Campground, net change is up $6,780, and this is increase for cleaning fees and the contract that they have with Waste Management. What?
Tree maintenance.
Oh, and tree maintenance. Yeah, it says cleaning. Park and Rec after-school program is no change. The Park and Rec vacation program has a net change of $9,194. This is a 3% increase, again, for returning employees and for 3 field trips. Memorial Park is no change. The library has a net increase of $15,303. And that is mostly due to wage increases. What did you have under this?
What's the
The
question?
36.
Oh, general expenses. That's only a $6,000 increase, so
Okay.
it's. no,
And that's in your operating expenses.
Yeah, that's the operating expenses, short of the budget.
Patriotic purposes is up $100. That's because the cost of buying flags has gone up $100. Conservation, no change. Debt services is 0 change. Water department. The water department budget is up $24,056. This is again salary line changes, and they actually were able to decrease some expenses due to audit decreases in distribution. Sewer budget is actually down $20,787. Again, this is because of changes in the salary and decreases in the maintenance costs. Electric department is up $3,196. This is due to salary increases that are part of the contract. That is the town budget. Do we have any questions from any of you? I know most of you are the department heads, but we have a member of the public. We have Alan. Does the board have any questions? Again, for members of the public, we have been meeting on this every month throughout the entire, since April. So, do I have a motion on the town budget?
Bottom line, you mean?
The bottom, we can do it any way you'd like to. We can go department by department, or we can do bottom line. Okay? So, if you want to do bottom line, then I'm going to direct you to your warrant article page. And Article 4, which is the town budget. And I would entertain a motion for $3,522,311 with a default budget of $3,287,081.
I'll make that motion.
And Barney makes the motion to approve that. Do I have a second?
Yes.
David rolls seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
So 4-1.
4 to 1.
I would then move to the electric department. Did you want to say something, Sandra?
No.
Which is Article 5 of the town warrant. Do I have a motion?
$3,443,990.
Yes.
Would you make that
with a
motion?
default budget of $3,425,011.
Second it.
Okay, David has made the motion, Ann has seconded it. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
So 4-1. That brings us to Article 6, the Water Department. I would entertain a motion for that.
I will move 399,381.
With a default budget of $388,446. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? 5-1, or 5-0. That brings us to the sewer budget.
Oh, yes.
Do I have a motion on the sewer budget?
Oh. I'll motion.
So David Yu is motioning $817,689,000 with a default budget of $812,754.
I will second that.
David Rule seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. That closes the town budget. We are now moving on to the warrant articles. Warrant Article 3. To issue the issuance of a $6.2 million bond for the Thompson Street, High Street, Smith Hill, and Winona Road, a water project. Do I have a motion on it to open up discussion?
I'll make a motion
Ann moves
for
the
6
the
million.
warrant, the article as written.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Sure, just for discussion.
Okay,
purposes.
David seconds it for discussion. Do you guys have any questions?
We didn't have much explanation about grants available or anything like that.
Mr. Chairman, could you explain to us about grants available and how this is going to be paid for?
Thank you for giving the opportunity. The grants are being applied for as we speak, and there are a number of different grants. We don't know how many we qualify for, or how much we're actually gonna get. This is coming down to a timeline. We have to do this. This is a quality of life issue for these folks. We can't wait another year to fix this. We'd end up in court for sure. This is a figure that was given to us by our contractors and our engineers. So this is what it's gonna cost to do it, and we're gonna apply for every grant we possibly can get. And I can't give you a number on it because we don't have it yet.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, but Andrew, do you have anything you'd like to add about this?
Yeah, I know we've been in contact with engineers in regard to applying for some grants, also Lakes Region Planning Commission. Typically, these grants take time to put together, depending on who it is, USDA. They're all a little bit different. I know the head of Lakes Region Planning said we're one of the targeted communities for grant funding. So there is a good chance that we'll get some type of matching grant that can pay for a majority of this. This project was put forth, I'm sure many of you know, I think 2015, 16, and 17, and hopefully some of these grants can offset some of the costs that you'll see here.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Just to add a little more to that, I personally have been in contact with Senator Sheen's office, Senator Mackey Hassan's office, and HUD, the regional director for the HUD projects in New England area. And they all said that they would do what they can to help us move all the grants possible that we can possibly qualify forward. So it's an ongoing thing. Like I said, it's a crisis for these people at this point in time, and we need to get started on this in the springtime. The water is very bad. We forgot to bring a bottle of water with us tonight, but you couldn't live with it. The people can't use their ice makers, their water heaters are plugging up, the dishwashers won't work, they can't take showers. It's a disaster. It has to be fixed.
And Andrew has done everything he possibly
And
can
Andrew
with
has done
flushing,
everything he possibly
putting
can.
stuff in to coat
Absolutely.
it. The pipes are old, the pipes are shrinking down, that is my understanding.
Yeah, so we're looking into alternatives in the meantime. Like I said, these projects take a long time, so it's not like we get the funding and it's digging tomorrow. So we're looking into all these alternatives, auto flushers, changing the chemical mixture. That's probably our best option until we can get a project like this approved, and we're switching blends. So there's a chance that that could help make the problem a little bit less dramatic for these affected areas. So we're doing all we can for these people, and hopefully, if this
But the
passes-
bottom line is we need to replace the pipes.
It's aged out of its useful life at this point. So it's all online cast. Tuberculation is what you see when it gets smaller and smaller. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any other questions?
I do. If you raise and appropriate 6.2 million, you do not get the grants or the bond, or whatever that you apply for. Say you got 75% of them, and this has to be repaid. That is a big tax impact, and you're saying no tax impact. So how does it get repaid if you do not receive?
It's a revenue bond.
It's a revenue bond, and the revenue bond is paid for by the water department, not by the taxpayer. So the water department has to pay for it through their
The rate,
accounts.
yeah, the rate structure.
Yeah,
User
exactly.
fees.
So it's not gonna be directly related to the taxes, but I've been told by both Senator Sheen's office and Senator Hash's office, that money is available, we just have to qualify for it. So I'm almost positive, I'm very confident, put it that way, that we will get some grants. Don't know how much, but we will get some grants.
And if you are unable to get the grants, we're unable to do the job.
Excuse me?
If you're unable to get the grants and the bonds, then we can't do it.
You won't know, if you can't get the bond, you can't do it.
Right, exactly.
Right. Absolutely. But I'm sure we'll be able to get the bond. It's a life, it's a quality of life issue.
It is.
I don't think there's any way around it.
So
Yes,
what-
ma'am.
So what you're saying, Kendall, is that, it has to be 100% that you will get the bonds before the 6.2 million is, somewhere down the line, someone has to pay for this. And it's the users that are going to pay for this. Whether it not be the ratepayers, it's gonna be the users. Someone has to pay for this.
The water department users are the ones who are ultimately there. However, they were going to do as much as they possibly can to get grants and get this funded. But the bottom line is, this is people's health that we're talking about with their water. It's gotta be done.
If it's helpful, it's the same way we paid for the sewer treatment plant. It's exactly how the sewer treatment plant was paid for, and it was bonded, and it's being paid for through the sewer treatment plant's revenues. It's a revenue bond, and they pay so much a month, every month for it. It's the way it works. Fortunately, in that case, we have outside sewage that comes in and helps pay for that.
And we will not have that.
Here, it's just, it's water, so
Right. It's
the water
just-
So it's
users
users.
just
pay
the
for it
users.
somehow.
Yep.
We all use water.
But yeah, if they can't get the bond, they can't do the project.
I don't think that's being said. Is that being said,
If you
do
can't
not
get the bond, you cannot do the project, correct?
If we can't do, if we don't get the bonds and can't do the project, we'll end up in court, and the court will mandate it. It's the way it'll be.
You will do the project.
So you will do the
By
project?
Oh,
court
yeah,
order.
get done.
Yeah.
But I'd rather do it this way than go to courts and have to pay for lawyers and everything else. I mean, it's something that has to be done. It's a quality of life issue. We charge people for water in this town, and the pipes are bad, they need to be replaced. It's like if you had bald tires on your car, you couldn't get an inspection, you have to buy new tires. They won't let you use it on the road, same thing, smaller story.
Is there any reason why this can't be done over a period of time and that it can be done?
Well, Sandra, on the case on Winona Road, that's a state highway. And part of it's a state highway, and, right?
Mhm.
And the state owns the road, we gotta dig it up, we gotta get permits from them.
Mhm.
And so, you do it all at the same time, you can't just do a piece of it. Well, it has to be done. Thompson Street is the largest expense, and it's on the town, but that has to be done. It was on schedule to be done in 2 years' time anyways. So we're just moving forward on a project that's been on the books for a long time.
I'm just asking the question so that people, you know, I don't understand why it can't
So-
be done.
One of the
Ahead of
things is,
time.
they tried to start doing this in 2016.
Mhm.
When the water, they knew they had a problem, but it didn't show up as in bad water. We've delayed it to now to where we are, where we have bad water.
So what's
We
happened
literally
from-
have brown, water is literally the color of your shirt. I've seen it.
All right, but why the delay from 2016 to 2024?
They've brought it up several times.
Brought
16,
it-
17,
It
and
got
18.
It got voted down.
It was
3
voted
times.
down each time. This project originally was gonna cost 1.5 million,
Yeah, it was.
1.2
it's
million
like-
back
It's like
when it
triple,
originally
it's like
was.
triple the cost now.
and we've delayed it, so it's now 6.2 million.
This article has been on the warrant every year?
No.
Just those 3 years.
But now it's at a crisis, it has to be changed. They knew it was happening, they knew it was gonna happen. It hadn't happened yet, it's happening now.
I don't think the town can afford to do this all at once.
Well, if you can't provide people with water, they're all gonna leave.
Any other questions? Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, I will call the motion. What?
Oh, sorry, we did make.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
So 4-1. That brings us to Article 8. To see if the town will establish a contingency fund for the current year for unanticipated expenses that may arise. Appropriate $25,000 to deposit it into the fund.
How much is in that fund now?
Mr. Town Manager?
$1,011,000.
Let's see on
Go
the
ahead,
side.
give an exact figure.
Hold on.
It's not a fund, it comes from the unassigned fund balance. If it's not used, it laps back into the unassigned fund balance. So
Right.
it's not an accrual thing.
So
It's-
there's not 100,
There's no money
there's no
in it.
money in it. This is something which each year we have to vote to put money in so that we can spend the money
Right.
Yeah.
during that year.
Right.
On
And this
an
money
emergency
comes from the
basis.
unanticipated fund balance to fund that
And if it doesn't get used or only a portion gets used, the remaining goes back.
into the unanticipated fund balance. So it's, if we take it out of the unanticipated, put it there to use it if we need it, it goes back at the end of the year.
Right.
Oh, I should have. Do I have a motion one way or the
No,
other?
I will make the motion.
Okay, David has made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second
Ann
it.
seconds the motion. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor of Article 8, say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Those opposed, say nay. 4 to 1. Article 9, waste to energy. Gentlemen, would you like to explain this?
Okay. You wanna take a hit at it?
Go ahead.
I'll take
You're
a
the
stab
chair.
at it, and I'm sure he'll fill in with me.
Or whoever you want to explain
Right.
it.
So the waste of energy facility was something that was on the warrant article last year, asking the town, should we look into this and what can we find out and come back this year with a recommendation. We've spent the year looking for an engineering firm that can do it so that when the plant is built, it belongs to the town. There was one plant available, or one engineering company available. Fortunately, it's a New Hampshire company, Waldron. Many of you probably have seen this from a couple of meetings that we've had. They have gone forward, and now we have this energy and waste energy committee, which Mr. Alan Silly is the chairman of, and our director of public works is the vice chairman. And they've been working diligently to put together a plan for a waste of energy plant. The cost of building this plant is $135 million. The plant would be a 12 megawatt plant, where it'll solve two problems this town would be facing coming into the future. Number one, where do you take your trash, and where does it go? Where does the waste go? And who pays for it? Currently, right now, the town of Ashland spends $100,000 a year moving trash up to Bethlehem. That would go away, and it would go right to our plant, and we would take care of it there. The bond that would be raised to build this plant would not be payable until the plant is in operation. So it would never be a burden to the taxpayer, because it won't be due because of RSA 33:6-b. I think you talked about that last night. That allows the town to bond this thing and not have to pay for it till it's operational. When it's operational, and I'll have our town manager give you some numbers on that as soon as we get done with this little explanation.
Could
The
you
plan
explain how the
Will
bond
be
is-
owned by the water and sewer company, right? No, the electric department, I'm sorry, the electric department. And our electric
No,
super.
actually, it'll be owned by the taxpayers.
Well, it's owned by the taxpayer, it's owned by the town of Ashland, but it
But
goes
it's owned by the
into,
electric
it
department.
goes into the electric department, which is a revenue-producing department. That's the only place that we would be building revenue for this town to pay for future expenses. As you have heard, both the school department and the town tell you of all the recurring expenses that just keep getting bigger every year. It's not gonna slow down. So we have to look for revenue places to bring in revenue. This plant will bring in revenue. There's a lot of consideration about it, and I'm certainly, if the chairman would like to speak to it at all, I'd be glad to have him up and speak to it, if you'd like to.
You're doing fine.
Okay. If I miss anything, please let me know.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll ask the town manager to give you the pro forma possibilities of what this plant will produce and what it will mean to the town of Ashland. And this will tell you what the numbers that we haven't had up to this date. We just got these 2 days ago. These are estimated because we're also applying for bonds. We're also applying for grants. And there's grant money out there that's available for exactly this because it is an energy
Renewable
project. It's a renewable energy project
There's
that
federal,
will.
there's federal money available.
The federal money is available, and they want these things Because in the future, everything's running on electricity, maybe even your car. I mean, they're pushing electric cars. There's not enough power in the grid to supply the electric demands of the public.
It's true.
So, Ms. Fred,
Mr.
would you
Walsh.
please talk about the
money?
the money starting in
Money,
year
yeah.
one,
Okay.
going up to year 7. Remember now, the first 3 years, there's no money being made because you build it, but it takes 3 years to put this thing together. We're not spending any money other than building the plant with the bond, and the bond's not due until it's operational.
The legislature created this special act that allows us to do this. It's just more than municipalities that are involved in this, cities are involved. It's a big project that's gonna go statewide. Having been in this business for more than 60 years, I can tell you the town I started with is currently taking their waste from eastern Massachusetts almost to Ohio, because they don't have a place to get rid of it in New England. Just the matter of you can get a permit with. We plan on building this facility. It will be in operation in year 4, 100% operation. And that will be the first year in which we'll actually make money that we can spend, if I can use that terminology. At the end of 25 years, we should be making something in the order of $230 million over that period of time.
Each
So
year.
That's a lot of money, and that's taking care of all of our trash and taking care of the other 19 towns in the district that we belong to, plus any spot tonnage that can come in, which would be much higher than what we would charge us, the other towns in the district with us. We need to do something because landfills are not going to be available. Landfills are the worst thing you can do with trash. We have one in town. It's going to be over 100 years before you stop paying for that facility. And it's going to get more expensive each and every year for all the special testing, for all the regulation, for all the monitoring. All those things go on every year. Every year I pay bills on your behalf from the appropriation to pay for all of those things. And I've watched this over the last 60 years, and that cost is going up. It's been ratcheting up quickly over the last few years because the money is not available, sir.
In your estimates, is that the net, or does that take into account maintenance that will be needed on the facility, paying the employees who run it? Last night you guys told us there would be about 50 employees.
That
3
takes
shifts.
into all the, into debt,
So it
into
takes the
consideration
expense
the
of
debt
that fee.
and the expenses,
Okay,
so,
That's what's left over.
right?
Yep. Just want to make that clear.
Oh, no, there's a lot of money that's involved in this. I want to be very specific with everybody so that you understand what we're going here, is trash takes a lot to move. And I've moved a lot of trash in my 60 years in municipal government. You take a semi-trailer load, and that's somewhere between 20 and 22 tons. And that's without appliances or any hard metal materials within the vehicles. And I can tell you that because I've moved 22-ton trailer loads of waste that is recyclable. That's what we're looking for, is paper-type products that can burn. We don't want to burn glass, we don't want to burn metal, we don't want to burn plastic. Yes, there'll be some cans that'll get in, there will be some bottles that will get in, there'll be some plastic that gets in, but very little. That'll be screened out. You can't take 100%, nothing's ever 100% in this business.
So you will be able to still recycle
Yes,
other materials?
right, and that is a different revenue stream, but it's money that will go into the general fund
Yeah.
to help pay for landfill operations and partly for this operation. You're gonna have supervision from town facilities and town employees and boards and commissions. There's all kinds of different things that we have to do. The state has a whole department just structured in environmental services just for this type of operation.
And how environmentally safe is it?
Well, it's more environmentally safe than the wood burning plant down the street, I can tell you that. I was here when that was permitted, And we had a lot of difficulty with the town of Bridgewater, we had a lot of difficulty with the town of Ashland, and several of the other towns around here. They wanted to know what was gonna happen. And fortunately for me, I grew up and went to high school with the young man that was the engineer in charge of that facility. I can tell you that the bag house over there is less than what we would have in our own facility here. The bag
What
house
is a
is
bag
what
house?
separates out anything that goes up the stack that shouldn't be going up the stack. It burns off material that shouldn't be there. It accumulates material that should not go up the stack. It just depends on what's going up.
And the changing of all that is included in that
Yes,
revenue stream?
it's one of the expenses in running the operation. And,
There's a maintenance cost.
well, that's the cost too.
Yep.
One of the points that I wanted to make about the environmental part of it, that the company, Waldron, who is the engineers for this project, has gone one step further at the
Yeah.
request of the waste energy plant people to to use the latest and greatest technology in the reduction of any particulates or any type of pollution that could come out of this plant. And they've added 3 levels of, we just call it scrubbing, and they're not scrubbers, but we'll call it that cleans out the air before it gets to the pipe. So that is, they're going the extra mile to put in that extra security. On the
Yep.
fiscal side of it, I wanted to add that if this plant was not viable, or the plant didn't have the right plans or the right plan to build, the bond company would never give you the money. You wouldn't get the money, you'd never build it,
And the state wouldn't permit it.
and the state wouldn't permit it. This has to go through federal regulations, state regulations. It's highly, highly governed for the most you can do. Yes, sir.
Could you explain where the money, the 135 million, is coming from? Because the way this is read, written, it's not clear. It is supposed to be a revenue bond, right?
It is a revenue
It is a
bond.
revenue
Right,
bond.
and investors will invest in the bond.
That's
Correct.
correct.
And it's not coming from the tax rate.
No,
No.
it'll be sold on the open market. There are lots of, we call them angel investors. There are a lot of people that run around looking for projects like this, which are environmentally sensitive, and they want to invest in them. They're not looking to make a large fortune on this sort of thing. They're more concerned with the environment, and they want to make sure that these things are built properly. They will get into the market to buy these bonds, and we will have the money. I'm not worried about getting the money. That's one of our most minor projects here. The big project is to get the federal and state funds, which are available right now and can be applied for once the permits are obtained from the state and the federal government. I have a feeling that we will get a very, very large contribution from the federal government and from the state government. The state wants this built. It'll be the only one that it takes a solid waste district and takes it out of the landfills in New Hampshire. There'll be more. And we need to get into the bottom line so that you as taxpayers can take that money and decrease your expenses.
Well, I was thinking of the wording of the article. It uses a reference to RSA 33(6)B, which I guess is revenue bonds, but almost no voter will know what that means. My point is, perhaps the article should actually say it's a revenue bond and that no property taxation will be involved.
Well, it already says no taxation will be involved, but.
Where
Well,
does it say that?
And David, I think what we do there is we put out we'll put out a paper, like a white paper, that for the voters to look at.
We can do it simply by
Yeah.
just, where it says no tax impact, dash, revenue bond.
In the deliberative session, we'll have something available for them.
I really think you have to explain that further, because people look at this and they say 135 million on the tax rate, and
Yeah, I get that. I mean, none of us take it lightly, let me tell you that. The key here is, at the end of the day, the town will own this facility. It will be the Ashland Power Station. It will belong to the town, and the revenues from that will belong to the town, as opposed to some of these other plants that are built, that are run by Wheeler Brader or other energy companies. They just run them, and they only give a portion of the money to the communities they're in. This is something that's gonna belong to us.
And is there a specific reason why it's better for us to be doing it than to have someplace else doing it, like
Well,
interstate?
You've got a good point there. We're very fortunate, that, number one, to be next to 93. So the transportation to bring the trash and the waste to the plant is right there off the highway. Number two is in a part of the town that it's out of sight. And number three, we own our own electric light department, so all the facilities to build the lines and the power stations, we already have all that. So all of that is really knocking down the cost of this plant. This plant would be a lot more money if you built it someplace else. So we're in a pretty,
And we don't have to build a transmission line to get it to go wherever we
It's
need it
there.
to, because it's
there.
already there.
It's there.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna have to add some wire, but
The bulk of it's there.
basically, we
We're not
have our
looking at
own
what they did at
substation.
Tenny Mountain.
The
Yeah.
13A connections right there next to the plant.
Yeah.
That's it. Boom.
So we're in a good position to do this, and we're getting in early, so we grab the grant money while it's available. And at the end of the day, the town needs a resource. I mean, once upon a time, we had the LW packet, which it's gonna provide 70 jobs as well. So the town had LW packet, everybody lived there. When that plant was running in this town, we had barber shops, we had a movie theater, we had all kinds of things in this town. And when that plant died, everything went with it, including the taxes went up because there's no resources. And it's just gonna continue to go in that direction unless we do something. And this is what we came up with. And this is something for the future. This is a future. You have to take risks sometimes in life. This is one of them.
Okay. Does anyone else want to comment on this? Mr. Silly?
I just have a comment overall. The voters of this town look to the Budget Committee for guidance in how they're gonna vote, whether they recommend or not recommend. We've seen this happen in the past. Having said that, I would hope that this committee would unanimously vote to support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything? Anyone from the board have anything?
The bond is not being paid for until after it's being built.
Yes,
After it's in operation.
it has to be operating after a full year of operation, I might add.
All right. And the engineering firm that you hired last year, how were they paid?
They did this voluntarily. They're looking to put together a system that they can use across the entire state. The state's looking for that system too.
So we don't have to pay that firm? We
What
are
they've
not
done up to
paying?
date, we're not paying for.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I will move the article. All those in favor say aye.
Well, you need a second.
Oh, I thought we did that already.
No, we haven't. I don't think we, did you
Okay.
make a motion?
All right, all the,
Make a motion first.
You moved it.
yeah. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any other discussion?
I should say, just to explain my vote, that I'm still worried about the environmental and health risks of such an incinerator plant, and for that reason, though I do understand the financial package, and it looks good on that side of it, but I just will not vote for it, I'm afraid.
I would hope that people would understand this is not an incinerator. This is not something that discharges into the air.
It's a boiler.
It's a boiler. And the material that's burned in it goes through a bag house, which means everything's cleaned out of it before anything goes up the stack, which is nothing more than vapor, water vapor.
Your household chimney is more polluting than that stack is gonna be. I've worked in the plants for 30 years. That's the truth. But coming out of that stack will be water vapor, a little bit of CO, that's about it.
Sorry, I know you guys are in your voting, but will you add any more information?
Yes.
I just want to say that it's very fortunate that our electric superintendent to be hired here has the background and the experience of running these plants for over 30 years. And he was involved in many of them. And we're very fortunate to have him in part of our town to be able to do this. I don't think we could have done it without him, so.
Harry, can you talk about the environmental impact?
All right. There's some environmental impact, but this plant is designed to take all the particulate out. I mean, it's finer than talcum powder, and it still takes it out of the air. So anything coming out of that stack, like I said, it's gonna be water vapor, and it's not even gonna be very hot, maybe 220 degrees leaving the stack. It's gonna be water vapor, a little bit of CO, maybe a little bit of CO, which is carbon monoxide, maybe a little bit of CO2. Most of the nitrous oxide, 99% of the nitrous oxide is gone. Because there's a system that takes the nitrous oxide out. I don't think you've been here when they talked about the ammonia scrubbers. That's what the ammonia scrubs the nitrous oxide out of the air. And basically any chemicals that are in the trash are destroyed because you're cooking it at 3,200 degrees. So there's nothing left. It's all gone.
And when you get rid of those scrubbers and change it out, those,
Those bag houses, that fly ash that they take out, after it gets separated out, the ash, it's sold off. It's sold to bricks, mortar,
Cement.
They use it for highways, they use it for bedding in the landfill. It's very compactable.
How about the mercury that comes
What?
out? Mercury. I mean, it's an element.
Mercury's destroyed at
It's good.
2,200 degrees.
What?
It's gone. Mercury at 2,200 degrees is destroyed.
It's an element, you can't
It's
destroy it.
it's separated. You know what I'm saying? It separates molecularly. It's still there in the air.
Right.
but You're gonna get some mercury in the air.
Mhm.
You're gonna get some mercury when you touch a newspaper. There's mercury in the newspaper you touch every day.
Mhm.
The ink has mercury. It's everywhere.
but is it more than that?
What?
What's the impact of the mercury?
That gets scrubbed out of the scrubbers.
So it's not going up the stack,
No,
it's
scrubbed out of the
gone.
scrubbers. Yeah.
Well,
It gets
actually,
encapsulated in lime and dropped out.
my understanding is that the highest mercury concentrations in New Hampshire, based on studies, are near these incinerators and power plants. That's where they find the highest levels. of
There is
mercury.
because of the destruction of wood. And wood contains a lot of mercury. Wood chips have mercury in them because they take it out of the soil.
But
Yeah,
you're not
there's-
burning wood.
What? No. But there is a newspaper ink. There's mercury everywhere.
Mhm.
But I don't know, I can't tell you about the mercury because you very rarely see it in your emissions from the stack. Very rare.
Okay.
And how long do we know about this warrant article? Because we got it yesterday, right?
They have been discussing it at the selectmen's
At the
meeting for
selectmen
over a
meeting.
year.
Okay.
And they've had
And we
multiple.
got it yesterday.
But when the town.
Right, they've had multiple versions of it. We got all the warrant articles yesterday.
Right.
So.
We got it Monday.
I was gonna say the board voted it on Monday, so technically this wasn't
Yeah,
part of the warrant until
Right.
this Monday that
we
you
got it
passed.
Monday.
Right, but they have been meeting and discussing
Yeah.
this stuff
Right.
since last year.
I assure you, I've worked in these plants for years, and my health is fine except for, I'm a disabled vet, okay? So, my lungs are great, my mercury's always been good, because I get tested every year. I breathe the air all around them all the time, so.
You know, I have a suggestion.
I got a problem with lead.
Yes, ma'am.
Worked at nuclear submarines.
This article is for $135 million. And there's a lot that's going into this article.
Mhm.
and I'm assuming, and that I shouldn't do, but I will assume that the majority of the people in this town are not going to understand what you have just told us. I realize that it's being televised, but I believe in order for this article to pass, there needs to be an explanation for the taxpayers in this town that are coming to vote.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I personally believe that it will not pass. It's not gonna pass even looking at the 135 million. It needs an explanation.
And they're going to produce a white paper to do that. And
Are you
hopefully-
going to explain what was just explained to us?
Absolutely.
And we've
They've
had,
probably done a little bit more eloquently too.
Well,
They've
All
also had 2 public hearings
Right,
already
right, we've had
to
2 public
explain this.
hearings where they've come in and explained everything to
and
us.
how many people were at those meetings?
I don't know, but I can't bring them all here.
21,
I'm not
21 and
saying.
50, plus they were televised.
All right.
Mr. Moore?
Sandra, we plan on having, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 public information sessions before, leading up to the voting and up to the, the town deliberative session. We'll also have information then. We'll have Waldron come in during the town meeting day. They'll be there as well, but we, as a committee, will we plan to have at least 3 or 4 meetings, just with the committee and the public, so we can be a very open, and the public can ask questions to the committee and we can answer them. So, and we will have handouts available as well. Environmental stuff is coming from Waldron, so you guys can all read it and understand what the environmental impacts are. But this is, everybody said it's going fast, it is going fast, and we are getting information from them so we can answer all your questions. We're not quite there yet, but we expect within the next couple weeks, we could probably hold our first information session to the public where you guys can all ask questions. We'll have like white papers, like they said, about emissions, so you can read exactly what does come out of the stack and the emissions. We'll have some handouts too that explain the process. So more of that's coming, and we are compiling it. It's just taking a little bit more time than what we thought.
I am just saying that if I wasn't here tonight, I would not vote for this article.
Yeah, but we will, I understand. we
Do
need
you
to do
understand
that.
where
You're
I'm coming from?
absolutely right.
And I am, well, we haven't voted. I am not against the article, let me put it that way, but I am
You want more information to be distributed to the citizens so they know what they're voting on.
exactly.
Yep.
Mr.
Because
Moore?
if I didn't have the information that I heard tonight, I'd vote against it.
Yep.
Mr. Moore, we haul our trash to Bethlehem currently.
That's right.
We pay $100,000 for that.
Slightly over 100,000.
And they're closing when?
It was 2026, they got a 1-year extension, so it'll be 2027.
Right.
Okay, we would be in operation when they close, so it would be seamless, hopefully.
What's that date of
If-
operation?
All the
if-
time they're closed.
If we
What's
have to
that
go
operational
somewhere
date?
else,
Oh.
do you have any projections on how much it's going to cost us to haul our trash?
I don't have any quotes. Nobody will give us estimates until we're 6 months out on Bethlehem closing.
Okay, but you
So-
do anticipate it going up drastically,
I do anticipate.
as well as hauling it distance-wise?
That's right.
We become operational in 27.
Correct.
That's right. I expect our rate could double. And we're part of the Pemmy Baker Solid Waste District. And I can tell you, every single 19 of those towns, we're all worried about our costs doubling. Don't forget, one of the caveats to that is Casella extended their contract that was signed 10 years ago at $70 a ton. That's what we pay per ton to get rid of our trash. That was signed 10 years ago. There's no way they will sign a contract today for $70 a ton. So we are looking at a drastic increase.
Like $110 a ton they're going on with now.
Right. No matter where we bring it, even if it was down to Rochester, we're thankful that Casella extended our contract for 3 years. And we're working off that right now, but we know if we don't do something, it could double or triple. We just don't know where it's gonna go.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just one more thing for Sandra. Sandra, the warrant article's written in legal terms to make it legal, but we will make information available in layman's terms that people can understand. So it's a little bit different, but it has to be written this way in order to make it legal. And for the bond people who want to borrow money from, they know that we did it correctly. So
No,
it's
I
the way it's-
understand.
I know
do
it's
understand.
confusing.
Yeah.
It's confusing to us.
All right.
One more question.
Yes,
Have there
sir.
been any studies done on property valuations and things like that once this goes in?
Excuse me?
Property
had-
valuations?
We had
for
a
the town?
property study done when the burn plant went in over in Bridgewater.
Yeah,
And because the realtors at that point in time in the business, and you get a lot more particulates out of the stack for a wood burn plant, biomass plant than you do for something like this, because this is strictly regulated. The realtors over there were saying property values in the surrounding towns were gonna go down by 10 to 15%. That did not happen, because we forced them to put in the necessary bag houses so that material didn't go up the stack.
right.
Actually, you get more pollutants, including mercury, from people who burn wood in their fireplaces at the house. That's not regulated at all in this state.
Right.
And you burn an awful lot of wood in this state. I don't have a fireplace that burns wood particularly for that reason, because I don't want to do those emissions into the environment.
I was thinking the other way around.
Oh.
Not depreciating, but actually appreciating property values because of the plant being here,
Well, because of this plant being here,
Right.
that's going to do an appreciation.
Right.
However, the wood burning plants,
Right.
the fear was at the time they were put up, the other plants that are currently operating in New Hampshire, okay, by and large, they threatened a 10 to 15% depreciation in property values. It didn't happen because we forced them to put bag houses in that took all those particulates out,
It will-
including the mercury.
I would anticipate that, being a Realtor, that it would increase because you have the money to do your infrastructure, to fix your
Yep.
infrastructure, to do stuff with your school.
Well, that's what I'm
to
thinking,
increase
yeah, that's why I was.
Everything,
Yeah.
I was just curious
It
if
should-
there were studies done on that to say, you know, with this happening.
but there's no other place like this, so
Right.
there isn't.
Right.
But once you are able to fix your infrastructure and everything, it ain't gonna lower your property tax,
Right.
your property values.
Right, that's my thought.
Just, you brought up another item that I've been thinking about with this project, is that we are, right now, currently, we probably have the cheapest electric rates in the state, because we own our electric light department. With this, we will continue to have the cheapest in the state, the least expensive. Maybe that's the right language to use, not cheap, but less expensive. That will bring people into town, industry. We got a mill down there that's just sitting there dormant. You bring vibrance into this town with a plant like this, is bringing money in and bringing inexpensive power and lowering the tax rate. People who are looking to expand business may look at that mill down there and say, we can do something with that, because we have power available at a low cost, and we also have a lower cost in property taxes. It has benefits that we haven't even discussed yet. So there are other benefits to the town as well. And this town needs something, and this is what we came up with. It's, me, in my heart, I don't have a personal interest in it, no interest in the power. I don't own any electric stocks. I don't own anything with this. I'm not gonna make any money off this. I live here, I pay taxes here, and I love this town. And it's the reason why we're doing this thing, so. I know I'm passionate too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I will call the motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
4-1.
4-1.
Yep.
Okay. Article 10. Don't worry, there's only like 30 articles.
No, there's not that many this time.
Article 10,
27.
yeah. Article 10 is to do with the LW Packard site. Andrew,
Yep.
would you please explain this?
So I think it was, don't quote me on this, I think it was May, we applied for a grant for $100,000. And we found out, I think it was Thursday roughly, that we got a 100% match on it. And this is for studying the I&I infiltration that's happening at the mill building. So the mill building sits on the river, and they used to have a pre-treatment for the dyes in the mill when they were dyeing the wool. And since it's been abandoned, the collection system, so where the wastewater goes down, has failed, and the foundation of the building itself, being on the river, when the river's high, it's leaking into the collection system and into our plant. So roughly we take in 200,000 gallons a day from town. When the river's high and it's flooding down the pipes, it's like 1.3 million gallons a day. So it makes it very difficult to meet our permits, and with this grant, hopefully we can remedy some of the issues in the mill.
Okay, and this is a property that the town owns now?
Yes, I believe it's
So it's
taken
not-
for
it's not-
taxes.
Right, so it's not a property that's owned by somebody else, it's what
No.
we own.
Yeah.
And
And
we
we're
do
taking
have
care
a
of our
buyer
own-
for the property.
That's fine.
You what?
After we fix it.
We have a buyer for the property, but we have to fix it first.
Oh,
So we're looking for the state and federal funds to do that.
Okay, so this will end up costing us about $100 filing fees?
I believe so.
Yeah, interest, it's 100% principal forgiven, so they estimate the
Yeah.
interest to be about $100.
Okay,
Do you know what the buyer's planning on doing?
Don't.
Okay.
But there's plenty of room in there, I
Yeah.
can tell you that, so.
Yeah, it'd be nice to clean it up.
And they have to meet the environmental standards to go in there, so.
all right, do we have a motion on this article?
I'll move it.
David has moved it, do we have a second?
Second.
David seconds it. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Say aye.
5-0.
Don't go
Article 11, Fire Department Capital Reserve Fund.
So moved.
do that at the town election early enough.
Do I have a second?
Second.
You go ahead.
You got it
Right.
first.
Either one, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Any discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. 5-0. Police Department Capital Reserve Fund. Do I have a motion on this?
Police station.
Police Station, I'm sorry. Doing that. Police Station Capital Reserve Fund. Do-
How
Do I have
much
a
is
motion?
in this fund now?
It's
Nothing.
starting, we're
Nothing?
starting the fund.
We're just starting it?
Yes. Do I have a motion on it?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And discussion. Mr. Chairman, currently there is, or Mr. Police Chief, there is nothing in this fund. This allows you to be able to spend funds for whatever you need to engineering studies, as well as,
Actually, this establishes the fund. There is
Right.
no fund now.
right, exactly.
Exactly.
And this
So
would
we
allow
get
you
through.
to be able to do that stuff.
That's correct.
We missed an excellent opportunity to purchase a piece of property and didn't have any way of buying it.
Yep. Any questions?
There's a committee? Two?
Yes, there is.
There is. Mhm.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Article 13, Police Department Capital Reserve Fund.
So moved.
We got a- And a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on this? $25,000 into the Capital Reserve Fund. This is for the replacement and purchase of police cars.
We're not buying one this year though, right?
Oh, no.
Thank God.
Not buying any cars anytime soon.
Yep.
So there's money in this fund or?
We just, due to circumstances, we're kind of forced to buy two this past year. We were due in line to buy one 2 years ago, and Dodge canceled our order because they didn't have any cars. And then we had a situation with another car that was a lemon, so we were forced to replace 2 vehicles this past year. We just got them both in, they're both on the road as of yesterday. So that fund, based on having to buy those 2 vehicles, is pretty low right now. So we're working on building it back up
Sure.
for the next few years when we have to replace
Sure.
the pickup truck.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Public Works. Capital Reserve Fund, $25,000 to be deposited for vehicle equipment replacement and repairs. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Sure.
Discussion.
What's in the fund?
Mr. Moore, do you know what's in your fund?
I think it's 109,
I think so.
about $109,000,
Okay. And we're withdrawing
90.
90 from that in a article about to come up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay? Which means that the truck that we're gonna be buying is gonna be just shy of 300,000. They're expensive.
All the equipment on them as well.
Yeah. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Article 15, Road, Bridges, and Capital Reserve Fund, $125,000 for the Bridges Capital Reserve Fund. This is what you use to pave the roads. We use about $100,000 every year. Try to keep some in because you're looking to pave North Ashland Road in a few years, and you're trying to build that up. And that's
Hopefully more
3
than a few
miles.
years.
So,
What is, it's the same question, what's in the fund? Anything?
I have no clue.
I wanna say less than 10 grand.
Yeah, because we just had to take some out to
Yeah.
do something, I can't remember.
Yeah, I
the
wanna say
sidewalk
it's
project.
Oh, yeah, you remember the sidewalk project that we did? We had to pay 20% of the total cost of that, so that came out of my capital reserve fund.
Yeah.
So it diminished, once that came up, it really dropped it.
But they're very nice sidewalks.
They are, but that had quite a bit in it until then.
They're ADA compliant.
Build it
And they
back
are.
up a little bit.
If you're thinking about in the future to, I don't know, resurface or whatever, North Ashland Road, I mean, this money could be used every year for
Oh,
something.
I do, I do.
So North Ashland Road could go to the wayside and not be done.
Right, I spend $100 every year on paving various different roads. And then we keep 25 in the bank. North Ashland Road back in 2016 was chip sealed, so that put a certain life expectancy on the road to save it. We'll have to decide again whether we can do that in the next 5 or 6 years, if we can put another Band-Aid on it, or we have to grind it and overlay it.
Keep putting a Band-Aid on it, and it's like, the other articles that we've had, since 2016.
But at least we're doing something on it.
No,
I
no,
mean, it
yeah,
keeps,
I mean, But there's a lot other roads that are much worse shape than North Ashland Road, a lot worse. And we're doing the worst roads first, and it's getting there, we're getting caught up on our paving. And you've seen a lot of it go on in the last 5 or 6 years, so we're getting caught up. I think that about a few more years, we'll get the really bad roads fixed up, and we'll be able to do a piecemeal job on North Ashland Road, a section at a time, maybe a mile at a time.
Yep.
But it's the longest road in town, so paving's very expensive.
I know, I live off that road.
Yeah.
All right. Do I have a motion on Article 15?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on Article 15?
Of this money, can money be put aside specifically for a road?
That's a good question.
Yes, they can.
I guess
Yeah,
we could.
with a separate warrant article, you can put one earmarked for a specific road.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of 125,000 for the capital reserve fund, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Article 16, we're halfway there. Okay.
She asked the
To
question.
see if the town will raise $200,502 to the Public Works Capital Equipment Capital Reserve Fund for the purchase of a 6-wheel plow truck. An additional $90,000 will be used from the Capital Reserve Fund for this purchase.
So moved.
We have a motion by David. Do we have a second? Second by David. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Article 17, Building Maintenance and Repair Capital Reserve Fund, adding $25,000 to deposit into the Building Maintenance and Capital Reserve Fund for the purpose of maintaining and repairing town buildings.
So moved.
I have a motion by David. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by David. Any discussion?
I want to know how much is in the,
Yeah.
yeah,
Any discussion?
that's my,
Do we know how much is in that capital reserve fund?
No, don't have a report yet from the trustees.
Okay.
I don't believe it's an awful lot of money.
Have you been spending money out of it this past
We
year?
have every year to do different things on town buildings. We just had to do a lot of work on the fire department because we had a foundation problem and we had a problem with the windows and those all had to be fixed. So they were fixed and we spent a considerable amount, $40,000 or $50,000 out of that fund over the last few years, so
Yeah.
we don't have much left.
Did you also spend money for the Parks and Recs building there, the roof?
Trees.
We did
Yes.
trees at the
Trees? Okay,
beach and campground.
okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of Article 17, say aye.
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 nay.
Opposed?
What?
So 4-1.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that.
Article 18, we're skipping, that is a non-monetary article. Article 19, we're skipping, is a non-monetary article.
Then none of these are going to get passed.
Article 20, petition warrant article. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,000 for fiscal year 24-25 for support to Voices Against Violence and nonprofit crisis center and shelter providing emergency care, court, and hospital appointments and general support to women, men, and children who are victims of domestic and sexual violence, stalking, human trafficking, and bullying. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay? And seconded?
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And do we have discussion?
I was going to ask. Isn't there another organization that takes care of this?
The other warrant article.
I think
Is that what
that's
you mean?
it.
There are several advocacy groups in the state of New Hampshire, but they're all done by catchment areas. And Voices Against Violence covers our catchment area. We use that all the time.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Article 21, to see if the town will vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $9,692 for Pemmy Baker Hospice and Home Health. As a nonprofit agency, PBH and HH provides services without regard to the ability to pay and service many uninsured and underinsured clients. Do you need me to read the whole thing? Because it
No.
actually gets quite lengthy. Thank you. All right.
I will move the article.
David moves the article. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ann seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed?
4-1.
4-1. Article 22, petition warrant article. We registered voters of shall the voters raise and appropriate $12,000 to Grafton County Senior Citizens Council for services to Ashland residents?
I'll move it.
David moves it.
I'll second it.
Sandra seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 5-0.
Yeah.
Article 23, to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,250 for Transportation Central to provide rides for qualified Ashland residents to medical appointments. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
And Sandra seconds it.
Okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Article 24, to see if the town of Ashland will raise and appropriate the sum of $3,500 to Lakes Region Mental Health Center, LRMHC, for the delivery of high-level access to mental health care. In addition, comprehensive mental health services, residents have 24 access to LRMHC, mobile crisis team that will report to mental health emergencies wherever individuals are located, whether it's home, school, work, elsewhere.
I'll move.
David moves. Do I have a second? Ann
I'll
seconds.
second.
Do I have any discussion? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed? 4-1.
One nay. There.
Article 25, shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 for the purpose of supporting hospice care, nursing therapy, and aid care to homebound residents who are at medical or social risk, and immunization services?
This doesn't say who's getting the money. Should it be amended to?
Mr. Manager,
Sir?
Oh, okay. I don't hear.
the question is, this does not say who is getting the money. This is a petition warrant article, so we cannot amend it. It has to be amended on the floor at town meeting, I believe.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we know who petitioned
We
this?
have the petition, okay? But we're only allowed to put in the wording in the petition. Unless it's legally wrong, then the selectmen can add the necessary wording. It doesn't require their name be there, it just requires we have to have something in writing from them that says where the money goes when it's
Can we
issued.
say who their name is?
I don't have it with me.
It is Lakes Region Visiting Nurses Association.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right, this is the visiting nurse,
Yeah.
yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
I will move the article.
David moves the article. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion on it? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
4-1. Article 26. Shall the town of Ashland vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be deposited into the Ashland Library Building Capital Reserve Fund, established in 2015 for the purpose of purchasing, building, and/or renovating the facility, including furnishings and equipment for the Ashland Town Library? Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
David moves. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Do I have any discussion on this?
So how much money do they have right now?
I don't have the trustee, we've drawn some of it. You say you don't have the trustees report at the moment.
No, we don't have the trustees report yet.
Somewhere around $500,000.
No. The capital reserve fund does not have $500,000 in it. There's
Before-
400,000 is in for available to either purchase the old school or an addition, so this is for other uses.
We know that they got the $400,000.
Right.
And they had $136,000 of money that we've already given them, and they're asking for 25,000 more. But they don't tell us what they're gonna do with it, other than they're gonna do it for a building. Well, they got $400,000 for the building. I don't know what they're building. You know what they're building?
Well, the 400,000 can only be used for purchasing the old school, which doesn't seem like it's gonna happen, or for making an addition to the present building. The problem is the present building needs, it will need, so once you put the addition on it, it has to be brought up to code for various different things, particularly the handicapped access code. So we'll need an elevator, we'll need new ramps, we'll need a new walkway, we'll need to remodel parts of the building to, we also need to get rid of the underground oil tank.
If you're gonna do more than 50.
Which is gonna cost some money. And that actually leads into the question of whether we should replace the old furnace or convert to something else like propane. So we're gonna,
Is this money in an interest-bearing account?
the what? The capital reserve
The money
fund
that you
would
do
be-
have.
Yeah.
And how much interest is in there, and what's the percentage?
The 400,000 is earning almost nothing.
If you put it in, I can tell you a bank you can put it into, you can get $2,000 a month interest on it. Would you do it? It's a New Hampshire bank.
We would consider it. I can't
Yeah,
speak for the board.
I know. I'm just saying, there's a way to turn that money that you haven't used yet into more money, not leaving it in a local bank giving you 0.001%. There's a bank down in Manchester that's paying 4%.
Okay.
4% will give you about almost $2,000 a month.
But on this,
But still, that money cannot be used for the old building.
okay,
So-
in your
So
current
none of
budget.
that
you-
has been used at all?
What?
So none of the 400,
No, there was only two, the only purpose it could originally be used for was the purchase of the school, so
So the money is sitting there doing,
nothing?
so,
nothing.
so what's going to be?
And in their current budget, they've proposed general maintenance of $5,000, which is actually a increase of $2,000. In the narrative, it says, general small repairs needed for electrical, plumbing, heating system, building, windows, grounds, etc.
Mhm.
But if the public knows that there's $400,000 that is sitting there, what is going to be done with
Well,
this
The
400,000?
$400,000 can only be used for additional building.
But can the
It
interest-
can't be used for
The existing
maintenance.
building.
Can the interest that grows from it, can that be used?
That's a really good question.
Can that be used?
And
I
they-
don't think so. It was given to.
Probably not.
That's what I'm worried
For
about.
400,000 was given to for two specific purposes. You can't use it for anything else. The problem is the Scribner building really hasn't received much in the way of repairs for
But we have
decades.
given $136,000 over the last few years.
And we've used some of that.
Some of it,
Right.
not much of it.
Well, once you talking about an elevator, that's most of it. I mean, it's like $90,000 to get an elevator.
Yeah.
And that's what would be needed just to start the handicapped access. So,
Do we know for sure that the interest earned on the 400,000, if it were in a high yield account, couldn't be used?
well, what happened was we thought we were gonna spend it immediately, so we just stuck it in the bank. And we keep thinking that we're gonna spend it immediately, and it didn't work out, so, yeah, we should reconsider that.
But David, if there's $400,000 in this account,
Mhm.
and you have.
Not in
ano-
the capital reserve fund, this is
No,
the.
it's an account,
Yeah,
wherever it is,
Right.
it's there. And you have a second account that you're putting money into to do repairs on the present. I mean, people are going to say, why are you spending all this money on the old building when you have $400,000 that's sitting there? Why should I give my money? Is it ever going to be used? And there's only two reasons why you can use this money, right?
The $400,000 cannot be spent on the old Scribner building.
That's right.
That's where we have to spend money for.
And what are you gonna do with the 400,000? I'm a
That would
taxpayer,
be for
so,
an addition. That's the purpose it's
for
allowed.
the addition?
Yes, just for the addition.
So you can use that money to,
Build an addition,
to build an addition,
Right.
And related costs to the addition.
or a new facility, right?
Which is like.
or a new
Which could be the
facility. So
additional.
those are the two reasons.
Yeah.
So, but we're stuck with problems in the old building that have to be corrected. So it can't be used for the underground oil tank, it can't be used for any of the handicapped access plus, except what it has, what would be handicapped access to the addition itself. So, that's where we get into lots of money, particularly the handicapped access.
I understand what you're saying, but it's the same way with the, another article that we discussed, where there's $400,000 and the taxpayers wanna know, what are you gonna do with this $400,000? We're giving you X amount of money
Mm-hmm,
to repair the Scribner building,
right.
but you got 400,000. Do
But it's
they
not-
know,
you
no,
can't-
wait a minute, do they know the reasons why?
Right.
Does every taxpayer know the reason why you can't touch the 400,000?
Well,
Probably not.
Probably not.
So,
Right.
so it's an education, but we're
Right.
discussing the 25, which would go into the additional 136,000.
And I'm not objecting to
Of
that.
which, right now in their budget, they're only planning on spending 5,000
She's
of.
just saying,
Well,
people
I
are
know,
gonna see
I'm
last
just
year,
making
right,
a
the
point here.
$400,000,
Well, actually-
I'm not gonna give extra money.
Exactly.
Uh,
I'm not gonna give money to another account when there's $400,000
They
there.
don't understand.
And they don't understand that that money can't be touched,
Yep.
except for two reasons.
All right,
Okay.
I absolutely agree with you. Again,
an
you need to give some
explanation.
better explanation
An-
for the
an
voters when you come
education, right.
to voting time, please.
Yeah, it's the same reason I would not have voted yes for that article that we
Yeah.
discussed earlier, except for what was discussed tonight.
So, is there anything else, or can we call the motion?
Well, I'd just like to say that an explanation should be made to the public.
Sure. We will try to do that. But there's plenty of money that has to be spent on the old building.
It
Yep.
would be easier to
To
get
bring
it
it up to
passed.
code. And once you put on the addition, the old building has to be brought up to code.
And
So-
when do you plan on putting the addition on?
Well, fairly soon, we have to get together with our architects and design it and try to figure out what to do.
So it'll be at least another year.
Yes.
Take a
If
look
not
at
two.
the statute, you may have to go to town meeting for that authority.
Right, that's what we just said.
Yeah, there's a lot to do.
Yep.
Yeah. And earlier, the architect gave us a budget of 1.4 million, which we could never reach that. That was completely gutting the building and starting almost from the walls in. So it'll be something much lower than that, but it's not gonna be cheap.
Well, I would think you'd get more than one estimate,
Oh, yeah.
like everybody else in town.
Right, but that was
Should.
the original estimate for the,
Yeah.
when we asked him to develop a plan for the old building to renovate it, to compare it to what else we might do. And that's what he came up with, and that, they went to, what's that firm in Plymouth? God, I've forgotten the contractor, but it's, it's a reliable local contractor who gave an estimate based on the architect's original sort of preliminary design. But obviously, we're not gonna do 1.4 million, because we don't have it, but the really basics, starting with the elevator, that's at least 90,000. So,
And we can't sell that building, right, and keep the proceeds from that, because it was the
The
trust.
short answer is
no.
probably not.
Probably, yeah, I'm just thinking with the $400,000 and the proceeds from that, doing something else also. Save money in the long run, but if we're not gonna be entitled to that, then there's no
Well,
point.
the building isn't that bad. I mean,
Yeah.
it does have a lot of space in it, but it's just
All
not
right.
up to code.
We're almost there.
Okay, yeah.
Are you ready for the question?
I'm ready.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
So 4-2.
Wait a minute, we only got.
I'm
no,
sorry,
five.
I'm sorry, 3-2.
3-2, okay.
All right, Article 27. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,000 to be deposited in the account of the Whipple Ashland Historical Society for the purpose of maintaining and repairing to the Whipple House Museum, owned by the town of Ashland. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
A motion by Ann, a second? Second by David. David Yule. Any discussion?
Well, how much is in there, but we don't know.
How much is in there?
It's
I can
in
tell
the-
you they spent it.
They spent it.
There's nothing in there.
There's nothing.
They
Oh,
did
right,
more,
the
they
repairs
did
were-
$8,000 on repairing the floor,
Yeah,
so.
Okay.
it's an annual donation and we usually spend it. It's an old house, it's
Yeah, I know.
1837. It
I know.
Needs work.
And for the record, I sit on the board of directors, so that's why I know those
Yeah.
figures.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? Are you ready for all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I'm abstaining. So 401.
401.
Does anyone have anything else that they would like to discuss tonight, or can we go home?
Have a good evening.
Yes. Time being
750.
7:50? I declare this meeting adjourned.